but that we'll trust God together that we will not lack wisdom, whether from myself or from any of our brethren, to bring an answer to any question if there is. Nobody should go with questions in his heart in a Bible study situation. So, a few things. The Lord gave us 3 key scriptures for this study. Matthew 25, 14 to 30, Matthew 24, 45 to 51, then Numbers 12, 1 to 8. These are the 3 key scriptures we use in the course of the study. Now, Matthew 25 talks about a situation of talent that was given to different servants, and that these servants were to use the talents. Now, but the administration of those talents were given to each of those servants. One received 5, the other one received 2, another one received 1. And the master of those servants was not being partial by giving 1 to somebody and 5 to the other. He was not doing, it was not a personal favoritism. But what scripture told us clearly was that in that parable, that the master gave them those talents according to their abilities each. What it means is that the one who received 1 did not have the ability to have handled 5 talents. And because of that, the Lord gave him only 1. That was his ability. There was nothing bad about him. It was his ability. It was God's ordination for him. The one with 2, it was because that was his. I am also thinking that even the one that received 5, it's just that his ability was to handle 5 talents. If he had the ability and capacity to have handled 20 talents, I'm thinking the master would have given him 20. So, but he gave each of them according to their ability, and he expected them to put those talents to use, and he left. But they were also aware the implication of receiving this is that at the end of the day, we will give account to our master upon his return. And the master of that servant definitely came one day, and he took them where they need to give an account of what they need to do. So in Matthew 25, we established from the first day that the matter of talents, we compared it with the gifts with endowments. Endowments are physical abilities God has given you. We also compared it with endowments, spiritual abilities God has given somebody. So whatever endowment and endowment God has given somebody, whether they are spiritual gifts, part of the endowment, whether they are ministry gifts, that God expects, by the time we came to chapter 24, we said that these that we have received based on our understanding of chapter 25 is so that we will serve men with it. In chapter 24, you notice that that servant, it was a servant that was placed over other servants. Placed over things. He was placed over men. So that whatever is it that God has given you, all those your knowledge, all those your experience, all those your gifts, all those your abilities, is so that God expects you to serve men with it. And we cannot afford to wrap our gift in napkin, or we cannot afford to dig a ground to hide it in the ground, like the other servant dug a ground and kept it. We cannot even afford to begin to beat our fellow servants. Thank God the word used was fellow servants. We are also servants, they are servants. It's just that your own level of servitude is given with a little portfolio. So you are only a servant with a small portfolio. But that your portfolio is not so big that the master will not require an account. So first, we have gifts. Secondly, those gifts are to be used to serve men. And the third thing is that we expect after we have served, we should receive commendation from our own master. And in this case, the Lord himself, where he will tell us, well done, good and faithful servant. So that was what we expected. So our study topic is faithful servant. And it was important that these 3 key texts were used. Now, we established that once you are a believer and you are still alive, the whole essence of your life while you are here is to serve. Whether you are rich or poor, as long as you are still alive and you are a believer, you are to serve. Actually, whether you are sick, even in sickness, you are to serve. I had opportunity just last month to encourage a brother who was involved in an accident, and he is so battered, and the accident didn't leave him the same. It's an experience I've not passed through. This brother lost his eyes. And all I could tell him, I said, bro, I don't know your experience. I don't understand it. But that you are still alive, he's a preacher. That you are still alive, it therefore means that even in this situation, you can preach. And that your testimony, your physical appearance now will turn many to the Lord. If only you can open your mouth, even in this challenge, to tell somebody that God is faithful. If only you can tell somebody there's a reason for living, even for me to be in this situation. Now I'm saying this so that even when one is sick, you can still do the work of the ministry as long as you are still alive. And we establish that service is only a response to our salvation. That service for the saved is a response to the implication of salvation. And we saw Paul making a statement that simply because Paul was alive, simply because he was saved, Paul understood that there is a reason why God saved me. And that reason he saved me for, that is what I'll be living for. And that because I am in this tent, there is a tendency that sometimes I will not take that into cognizance. So to help myself, I will press on, press forward day by day until I lay hold of that reason. Now, once you understand that there's a reason why God saved you and left you here, it should be the very reason why you should further press on to the Lord to ask him, what is actually what you have in store for me to do? And that a believer should not live his life day in, day out. In fact, you should cry out. This is where discipleship plays a role. Cry out if you don't know what your calling is. And through discipleship and through mercies that you'll be receiving severally until it becomes clear to you that this is what the Lord wants me to do with my life. Whether he's calling you into pulpit ministry, whether he's calling you into classroom, whether he's calling you into business, whether he's calling you into any other level, any other thing, vocation, whether into uniform organization, whether it should be clear to you that this is what the Lord wants me to do. And that after knowing that this is even the place where he wants me to serve. So knowing the call is important, but knowing where to discharge it is also very equally important. I saw something on the screen. Maybe our brother wants to read it for us.
Yes, there's a chat from Abba.
Okay.
He said, did the unprofitable servant did he make hell or because he didn't make profit or because any other sin, since he was God's servant? That's the person that was given one and he went and hid it. Did he make hell? Or hell because he was God's servant? So that was what they were asking.
I think Bible was very clear from that parable. If he's talking in the context of the one who had received one, let's read it. Matthew 25, so that we will not be talking from our head. So that from that scripture is scripture that answers scripture. Now verse 24. Chapter 25, 24. Then he who had received 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. And I was afraid and went and hid your talent in the ground. Now this servant, it was not his talent, but he hid the talent where the owner of the talent didn't tell him. I hid it in the ground. That's verse, what verse now? Verse 25? 25, verse 25. I hid your talent in the ground. Look, you have what is yours. But his Lord answered and said to him, you wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming, I would have received back my own with interest. Therefore, take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the unprofitable servant into the outer darkness, where will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.